Dr. Phil's voice cuts through the studio like a blade. The cameras pause. The audience falls into a deep, stunned silence. Dr. Phil steps forward, eyes firm, tone unwavering. Today something is happening on this stage that has never happened before. We are not dealing with miscommunication. We are not dealing with a couple who just needs to work things out. We are dealing with a marriage where one person has been emotionally dismantled piece by piece. And we're going to address that directly, right here, right now. He gestures toward the seating area. Lori, come on out. Lori walks in slowly, shoulders drawn inward, like someone who has learned to make herself small so the world will hurt her less. She sits down without lifting her eyes. Her hands are clasped tightly in her lap, knuckles pale. Dr. Phil sits across from her, but he does not rush. He gives her space to breathe. Lori, say in your own words why you're here today. Her voice trembles, but she pushes it out anyway. My husband is a narcissist, and I want a divorce. The studio air shifts. The weight of those words is not loud, but it is heavy. Dr. Phil does not flinch. How long have you been wanting to say that out loud? Lori swallows. Years, but every time I tried, he talked me out of it, or made me believe I was overreacting, or said I couldn't survive without him, or told me no one else would ever love me. Her voice cracks, but she keeps going, and after a while I started to believe him. I thought maybe I really was the problem. Dr. Phil nods once. You lost yourself. Lori nods back, eyes filling. I don't know who I am anymore. Dr. Phil looks at the audience for a moment. Narcissistic abuse doesn't always look loud. Sometimes it's quiet, silent, strategic. It drains a person so slowly they forget they ever had their own voice. He turns to the side. Bring him out. The door opens. Mike enters. He walks like someone who is convinced the ground is lucky to have him step on it. He sits down next to Lori, but not facing her. He leans back, relaxed, arms open across the chair rest. Like this is a conversation he's already won. Dr. Phil studies him for a moment. Mike, your wife has just said she wants a divorce because she believes you are a narcissist. How do you respond? Mike smirks. She's emotional. She always has been. She dramatizes everything. I try to help her think logically, but she refuses. She creates problems so she can get attention. Lori's shoulders fold inward even more. Dr. Phil catches it. Mike, when she expresses emotional pain, what is your first reaction? Mike shrugs like it's obvious. I tell her to calm down. Overreacting doesn't solve anything. Dr. Phil leans slightly forward. And when she tries to calmly explain how she feels, what do you do then? Mike laughs a little. She doesn't do anything calmly. She is always too sensitive. If I don't tell her the truth, who will? Lori whispers, your truth hurts me. Mike waves his hand. See, everything hurts her. You can't say anything to her. Dr. Phil tilts his head just slightly. Lori, can you give me an example of something he says that hurts you? Lori inhales. If I'm quiet, he says I'm unstable. If I cry, he says I'm manipulating him. If I try to talk about something that upset me, he says I'm imagining things. If I get upset, he says I'm crazy. If I try to defend myself, he says I'm attacking him. If I say nothing, he says I'm weak. The audience shifts uncomfortably. Mike rolls his eyes, and here we go again. Dr. Phil turns to Mike. Why are you rolling your eyes? Mike spreads his hands. Because she always plays the victim. I do everything for her. I pay the bills. I manage the house. I make sure things run smoothly. All she has to do is support me and be grateful. Lori's face twists, not in anger, but in pain that has been swallowed too long. Support you, you check my phone, you track where I go, you read my emails, you tell me what to wear, you tell me who I can talk to, you decide when I can leave the house, you take my debit card, you decide what groceries I can buy, you tell me I don't need friends, you tell me my family doesn't care about me, you tell me I'm dumb, useless, pathetic, and lucky you didn't leave me already, because no one else would ever want me. The studio falls silent, not a breath moves. Mike's jaw tightens. His voice lowers, defensive, sharp. I did all that to protect you. Dr. Phil's voice cuts through him like a clean blade. No, you did all of that to control her. Mike sits forward now, trying to regain ground. She makes bad decisions. Someone has to look out for her. Laurie's voice is barely audible, but truer than anything in the room. I stopped making decisions because I was afraid of you, Doctor. Phil holds that moment. Lets the silence show what words can't. Mike, do you love your wife? Mike stiffens. Of course I do. Why do you think I put this much effort into her? Doctor, Phil nods slowly. Effort is not the same as love. Containment is not the same as care. Ownership is not partnership. Mike's eyes flicker. Crack number one. Doctor, Phil goes on, voice grounded, clinical. You don't love Laurie. You love the version of yourself you get to feel like when you stand next to her. You don't want a partner. You want a mirror that makes you feel big. Mike opens his mouth, then shuts it. Laurie looks like she's hearing oxygen for the first time in years. Dr. Phil turns directly to her. Laurie, say what you came here to say. Laurie's whole body trembles, but her voice comes out clear. I want a divorce. Mike's head snaps toward her. You're not leaving me. Doctor, Phil speaks before Laurie can collapse. She already left you emotionally a long time ago. Today, she is leaving you out loud. Mike's voice rises not loud, but desperate. She can't survive without me. Doctor, Phil stands. Yes, she can, and we are going to help her, right now. Laurie starts crying, but this time the tears are not breaking. They are releasing. Mike looks lost for the first time, because control only works when the victim believes they are trapped. Laurie is not trapped anymore. Mike is staring at Laurie like he's seeing her for the first time, but not in wonder. In disbelief, in fear, because he can feel it. The grip he has had around her life is slipping, and he is losing control on national television. Dr. Phil sits down again, but this time the posture is different. He is no longer analyzing. He is confronting. Mike, I want you to listen carefully. Laurie has been living in psychological captivity, and whether you meant to or not, you created that environment. The only question now is whether you are willing to acknowledge that reality. Mike scoffs, but there is a faint shake in his breath. You people just don't get it. I'm the one who kept everything together. Without me, she wouldn't have a stable life. I made sure everything was in order. I made sure we had direction, and now, because she's emotional on television, you're acting like I'm some kind of monster. Laurie speaks before Dr. Phil can, and for the first time, Mike does not interrupt her. You didn't keep my life stable. You made me afraid to live it. Her voice is steady now. Something has shifted. She is not crumbling. She is remembering herself. Mike shakes his head. You are twisting everything I've ever done for you. Doctor. Phil cuts in sharply. She's not twisting anything. You're simply hearing the truth out loud for the first time without being able to control the narrative. The audience breathes out as if they've been holding air with her. Dr. Phil looks at Laurie. Tell him what it has cost you to love him. Laurie exhales, and her words come slowly, but they come. I used to laugh. I used to have hobbies. I used to have friends. I used to call my sister every day. I used to cook for fun. I used to go out just to feel the sun. And then I started asking you for permission to exist. The studio is silent. Mike shifts, almost shrinking. Doctor? Phil turns to him. What do you feel hearing her say that? Mike opens his mouth, but nothing comes. His voice finally emerges, but it is thin. She exaggerates. Laurie shakes her head gently, not pleading, just done. I stopped exaggerating a long time ago. I stopped everything a long time ago. Doctor? Phil speaks now, with the gravity of finality. Mike, what Laurie experienced is called narcissistic abuse. You rewrote her reality until she doubted her own instincts. You replaced her independence with dependency. You took her identity and replaced it with your approval. That is not love. Mike looks down. For the first time, his confidence is cracked. The audience does not clap. They simply watch. Laurie wipes her face, but the tears are lighter now. Doctor. Phil turns to her, voice firm but warm. Laurie, I want you to hear me. You are not weak. You are targeted because you are empathetic. Narcissists don't control weak people. They control people with compassion, loyalty, heart. People who try hard. People who love deeply. You weren't broken. You were used. Laurie's chest rises with a breath that sounds like the first full inhale in years. Mike looks up suddenly. panic flickering beneath the surface. "You're ruining my life on television, Doctor." Phil looks at him without sympathy. "No, your behavior has been ruining your life long before the cameras turned on." Mike's jaw clenches. He wants to fight, but the script he always used is gone. Lori is not playing her old part anymore. "Doctor," Phil continues, steady and unwavering, "we're going to have a licensed trauma recovery specialist come out here and speak with Lori about rebuilding her autonomy, identity, and self-worth. And Mike, you are going to sit and listen." Mike stiffens. "I don't need therapy, Doctor," Phil replies without hesitation. "Yes, you do." Mike opens his mouth. "But Doctor..." Phil's tone shuts it instantly. "You have been emotionally dominating another human being, and whether you intended harm or not, the result was harmful. Therapy is not for punishment, it's for accountability." A therapist walks out, calm, grounded, patient. Lori shifts toward her instinctively, like someone recognizing safety. The therapist sits beside her. "Lori, losing yourself does not mean you failed. It means you survived. Your nervous system did what it had to do to keep you alive in the environment you were in. Now, we help your body learn that it is safe to exist again, safe to choose, safe to feel, safe to take up space." Lori's tears come again, but this time they are not breaking her, they are freeing her. Mike watches, confusion and frustration mixing. He is no longer the center of the room. He is no longer the narrator. He is no longer the authority. His control is gone. "Doctor," Phil turns to him again. This time quieter. "Mike, if you love her, you will let her breathe. If you love her, you will not chase her, pressure her, guilt her, or try to reel her back in. Control is not love. Possession is not partnership. And if you can't understand that, then you do not love her. You only love the feeling of being needed." Mike looks like someone who has just realized the mirror he's relied on his entire life is shattering. Lori speaks one more time, not to cry, not to beg, but to end. "I'm not coming back home with you." Mike's breath catches. "Where will you go?" Lori stands slowly. "Somewhere I get to exist." The room swells, not with applause, not with noise, but with the quiet power of a person reclaiming their life. Mike remains seated, hands limp, as if the world he constructed has dissolved in front of him. "Doctor." Phil stands with Lori, walks with her offstage, not as a host, but as someone witnessing liberation. The cameras do not cut. The audience does not move, because they have just seen something rare. A person walk out of captivity without permission. The studio feels heavy. Not loud, not chaotic, heavy, like everyone is holding a moment of history in their hands. Mike is still sitting on the stage chair, but he doesn't know how to sit anymore. The confidence he walked in with has evaporated, leaving something hollow and trembling in its place. Dr. Phil stands quietly for a moment, giving the reality of the situation the space to be seen. Then he turns slowly toward Mike. "I want to talk to you without anger, without accusation, and without dramatics. I want to talk to you human to human." Mike looks up, wary, guarded, unsure. Dr. Phil sits across from him. "Right now, you are experiencing something called narcissistic collapse. When the control you've relied on for identity slips away, your mind doesn't know what to do next. You're not angry. You're terrified." Mike's jaw tightens, but his eyes flicker again. The audience sees it. A crack, not of aggression, but of someone whose reflection has dissolved. "Doctor," Phil continues, voice steady and absolute. "When your sense of worth is built on being the stronger one, the smarter one, the one in charge, the one who decides what's true, any challenge to that feels like your entire self is being attacked. That's why you get defensive. That's why you twist reality. That's why you deny. Because admitting fault feels like annihilation." Mike swallows, and for the first time, his voice is small. "I didn't want to hurt her, Doctor." Phil nods. "I believe you, but intention does not erase impact. You believed control was care. You believed ownership was love. You believed emotional dependence meant connection. But love is not the cage. Love is the air." Mike looks away. The lights feel too bright now. "Doctor," Phil leans in gently. "You learned somewhere, maybe as a child, maybe later, that vulnerability was dangerous. That emotional closeness was weakness. That control was safety. But that's not who you really are. That's who you became to survive something. Mike doesn't speak. He can't. Dr. Phil goes on. So now you're faced with a choice. Do you keep living in that pattern? Or do you learn a new language for love? Silence, heavy, real. Dr. Phil stands. We're going to bring Lori back out, but only if there are rules. Mike nods slowly. Okay. Dr. Phil holds up one finger. Rule 1. You do not speak unless she finishes. Another finger. Rule 2. You do not dismiss, deny, minimize, laugh, correct, or reinterpret her experience. A third. Rule 3. You do not try to win. Mike's breathing is uneven. I can do that. Dr. Phil watches him for a solid, unbroken 5 seconds, the kind of silence that measures truth. Then he nods. Bring Lori back. The audience exhales like they were underwater. Lori returns, but she is different. Not louder, not stronger, just present. She sits in her seat again, but this time she sits upright. Shoulders not folded, eyes not dimmed. She is in her body now. Dr. Phil addresses the studio. What you are witnessing right now is not about blame. It's about reality. It's about truth spoken without fear. He looks at Lori. Lori, I want you to say what you needed to say for years, and I want you to say it now. Lori looks at Mike, and her voice is calm. Not shaking, not breaking. Calm like a decision made, not a question asked. I loved you more than I loved myself, and that was the problem. I gave up everything to keep you happy. I changed the way I dressed, the way I laughed, the way I spoke, the way I walked. I stopped calling my family. I stopped trusting my thoughts. I stopped believing my memories. I stopped dreaming. I stopped living, and you didn't even notice, because the only thing you ever needed from me was silence and obedience. Mike's face bends, not angry, not manipulative, but like someone watching a movie of their own actions for the first time. Lori goes on, you didn't destroy me quickly. You destroyed me slowly, so slowly that I thanked you while it was happening. A single tear falls down Mike's face before he can stop it. But Lori does not soften, not anymore. You tell people I'm emotional, that I'm dramatic, that I'm unstable. But I need you to hear this. I survived you. The audience feels that line in their bones. Dr. Phil speaks almost in a whisper. Mike, respond if you can do so without control. Mike wipes his face, breathes uneven. I didn't know I was doing that to you. Lori nods, not forgiving, not accusing, just acknowledging reality. I know, and that's why I have to leave. Mike inhales sharply, like the words hit him physically. I don't want to lose you. Lori looks at him, really looks. If you loved me, you wouldn't have needed to own me. There is no scream, no explosion, no dramatic music. Just truth. And truth is louder than chaos. Dr. Phil stands slowly. This marriage does not end in failure. It ends in awakening. Mike covers his face with both hands. Lori watches him, grief in her eyes, but not regret. Dr. Phil turns to the camera, to the world. For everyone watching, love is not supposed to erase you. Love is not supposed to shrink you. Love is not supposed to make you afraid to breathe. If you have to disappear to be loved, that is not love. Lori rises from her chair, and this time Mike does not stop her. He simply watches her walk away, like watching the sun rise somewhere he cannot follow. The audience rises, not cheering, not clapping, standing, witnessing, because freedom is not loud, freedom is quiet. And final.